Hi, man of God. Okay, so one of the favorite things that I like to do is cook, and one of my favorite cooks is brisket. And I get so many requests for what my recipe and my process is for cooking your brisket. There's several ways you can do this, but it's taken me probably 2 years to perfect my method. I spent a lot of money and burned up a lot of briskets trying to cook hot and fast. I've also, the other way, cooked low and slow, and it seems sometimes that I didn't cook them long enough, so some of them were really, really tough. But eventually, I came up with a process that worked. And working at USAA, I would bring briskets in for my employees for different occasions, and both the managers and the employees were like, "Man, this is really good." And they would ask me how I do this. And being in Texas and not being from Texas, that was a really great compliment for me. So um, instead of trying to hand out the recipe to each and every person that asked me, I decided to do a video. So I will, in this video, kind of go over my whole process, starting with my injection. Yes, I do inject my brisket. I know for some brisket cookers, barbecue pit masters, that's a no-no. Especially in the central Texas region. I'm in South Texas. We like a little bit more heat in our meat, so to speak. And so I will go over the injection that I use in injecting my brisket. The other thing is I will go over the rubs, um, my smoking process. I'm a low and slow guy because, um, like I said, I'm not Myron Mixon. I've tried, but maybe it's my smoker. I can't move the meat far enough away from the firebox to cook this brisket hot and fast without burning it up. So, what I found is that low and slow works for my smoker. My brother in law, Brian Cortez, he's a Marine veteran. He, for my retirement from the military, made a smoker for me. And I use that. That's my favorite toy. I use that probably more than any other gift that's ever been given to me. And I just love it. I love smoking meats and fish. We go down to the coast, as you know, for kayak fishers of men, the ministry that we have, and I really enjoy cooking for other people. So I will go over that process. It is Friday night, and I hope you guys are doing well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the injection and what I put in my injections. Okay, let's take a look at that. Okay, so these are the ingredients that I use in my injection for my brisket. Um, this is a beef broth, and it's concentrated. So the instructions are on the back, and basically it tells you how many teaspoons you need to how many cups of water to make some beef broth. You don't have to use this, but I cook enough briskets and beef that I use this quite a bit. So I find it more convenient to just go ahead and use the concentrate. And then I mix it up with some water and a little whisk, and then I have my beef broth. My second ingredient is actually a commercial grade marinade. It's Allegro, and it's the original marinade. It is wonderful. A lot of competition cooks use this. I know this because I judge brisket every year at the San Antonio Rodeo Barbecue Cook-Off, and I could taste it, honestly. And it's got a great flavor to it. And they make some that have different flavors, like hickory even, and that's really really good. My third ingredient, I just add a little extra garlic powder to taste. I like garlic. It's very savory, so when you put it in beef, it's really good. Um, my last ingredient is apple cider vinegar. You don't have to use Bragg's. You can use any apple cider vinegar, but it's really good for adding flavor, and it also tenderizes the meat. So then I just mix it all up in a bowl, and then I use an injector, and I inject the brisket. Now, when you inject a brisket, you want to inject with the grain,
because if you inject against the grain, what's going to happen is going to leave pockets of injection, and that's not good for your brisket at all. When you cut into it, you'll see it. It won't taste good because it's too concentrated. But when you inject with the grain, it works out really, really good. So that's my injection. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and add all our ingredients together for our injection. Okay, so basically, like I said, about a cup of beef broth, or a couple cups actually. And then I already used half of this bottle, as you can see, on a previous brisket. I'm going to shake this up because there's lots of seasoning in here. And then I'm just going to add this together. Pour that whole thing in there, or half the bottle actually. Okay, that's good there. Recycle this bottle. Then what I'm going to do is open up the garlic and just give it a couple dashes. Maybe 3 dashes. Alright. And then I'm going to shake up this apple cider vinegar because it's with the mother, so it has some other stuff in there too. I usually put about 2 tablespoons. I don't measure them. I just kind of, like I said, I'm backyard, so I'm not trying to be exact or anything. Alright. So I've got all our ingredients in there. I'm going to do, just whisk this up. It smells really good. And I'm going to let that set. And while that's setting, I'm going to go get my packer, which is a brisket. It's a full brisket, meaning it has the point and the flat. If you didn't know, a brisket's made out of 2 muscles, okay? And it comes right here off the cow. It's a working muscle, and it's that's why it takes so long to cook, to tenderize it. But it's 2 separate muscles. You have a left brisket and a right brisket. I don't really care which one I get, as long as I get a brisket. And then I'm going to inject and let it set overnight. So let me go get the brisket, and we'll start the injection process. Okay, so let's talk injectors. So I get the question a lot, what kind of injector do you use? Well, if you watch Barbecue Pit Masters, there's several kinds of injectors you've probably seen on there. Some with multiple needles on them, some with pumping action, and some that are automatic that, you know, you just push a button and the injection goes through the injectors. But for the local average backyard barbecue cook, we have access to some injectors that we can get from like Walmart or Target or your local grocery store. Like ours is H-E-B here. They're a great grocery store, by the way. This is your basic injector. It's very inexpensive, but it's not made that great. The quality's not that great. If you look at this, you can see that the needle is bent. Okay. I've broken several of these. It's got the one spray hole kind of midway or a third of the way, and then one spray hole at the very end of the tip right before the point. I've broken several of these because the quality of this metal here is not very good. A step up from that is a thicker grade injector. This one just happens to be black, and it's got a thicker metal. And this is a good one, you know, if you don't cook that much, you know, and if you take care with it. You know, it slides very nicely, injects very nicely. Again, it has 2 different injection points on there, as you can see, and then one closer to the tip. Okay. I probably will never buy this grade again. I will either in a pinch buy this one, or this was a gift from my wife. This was a Charbroil all metal injector. Everything from the liquid chamber to the injection plunger to the injection needle, and it has multiple. It actually came with 2 different needles, but this one has multiple injection sprayers all the way around it. You can't really see them, but I'm trying to hold it up there. You can see all the different holes that the injection will come out. I just wanted to touch on that because people ask me that question all the time, and I wanted to make sure that let you know these two are probably your best bet for the price. This one, in a pinch, if that's all you have time to go get, and if that's all they have, it'll work as well. It just won't last as long. Okay, let's get to the injection. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this. I put my brisket in a pan when I inject, because some of your injection will run out, and you don't want to run it all over the place in your refrigerator while you're asleep or while you're waiting for it to marinate all day. I let mine marinate all night, and then I start my cook in the morning, or vice versa. If you're a working man or woman, you might want to inject first thing in the morning, and then when you get off work at in the evening, you can come home and it'll be ready to start your cook. So but as you can see with this brisket, the grain is running this way. You can see the lines, even with the fat, is running this way. Okay, so when I inject, I'm going to take my needle and inject different points about every inch along the brisket, and I'm going to inject slowly as deep as I can, and then start pulling it out while I'm compressing the needle, the injector, so it gets all the way through from the bottom to the top of the brisket, and again with the grain. Okay, so it doesn't create those pockets of concentrated injection that will not only look bad, but it'll taste bad. So all right, I'm going to go ahead and start my injection.